Hello fans, welcome back to our channel. I hope your day was fantastic. Before we start, please like and subscribe. The much maligned spin-off to Sex and the City is just getting better. The first season was horrible. The second season was less so. What about this season? Almost good, based on the first 6 episodes. Season 3 continues precisely where Season 2 left off. Carrie is trying to stay positive despite navigating an ambiguous long-distance relationship with Aiden, while Seema is unsuccessfully attempting to maintain her own with Ravi. Miranda is hoping to enter the lesbian dating scene. Charlotte continues to balance her newfound comeback to the art gallery world with being a mother to the 2 most demanding upper-middle-class brats. Lisa Todd Wexley, LTW, radiates an atmosphere of perennial glamour, while supposedly spending every waking minute working or tending to her 3 children and husband. Anthony is happily in love with Giuseppe and establishing a second hot fella store. She and Nia, nowhere to be seen. Audiences were given the heads up that these 2 characters would be written out, but nowhere does it factor into the narrative. Che, as annoying as they were, was close enough to be invited to Carrie's farewell soiree for her beloved apartment, while Nia housed Miranda as she got back on her feet post-divorce. The narrowed focus does aid the flow of the series, but Nia's absence, in particular, is keenly felt. Though perhaps I'm glad the creators didn't try to reason these 2 characters away, a la Stanford Blatch's conversion into a monk. The best feature about Sex and the City, in my opinion, was how each episode was smoothly structured around a continuous thread that served as a through line for each character's story development. But while the first season of AJLT saw multiple characters floundering around in diverse ways, the 3rd season sees the major event unfold concurrently and jointly. In the 2nd episode, many characters are rendered impotent by their phones in different ways, while the 3rd episode is loosely about the difficulties of balancing child rearing with a job and the sorrow of business betrayal. The 3rd episode also revives the most wonderful Sex and the City trope. One of Carrie's pals accompanying her on a book-related marketing trip, this time to Virginia. Sex and the City was always aspirational, although it has since transpired that Carrie lived in the golden age of writing where one was paid $4.50. A word, the number of designer shoes she owned spoke of someone sitting on a far bigger honeypot than a weekly column. Charlotte stopped working because she could. Miranda and Samantha were the only ones who held down full-time jobs. Fast forward 2 decades and their lives, with the exception of Miranda, whose decades as a commercial lawyer seems to have done nothing for her bank balance, are even more unattainable. But AJLT's writers are always intent on showcasing that even the landed gentry aren't immune from the inconveniences of regular life. Carrie resides in an idyllic oasis in the heart of Manhattan, but it doesn't stop a congregation of rats from erupting out of her garden one sunny afternoon. Charlotte and LTW have all the comforts money can buy, but it doesn't stop the tectonic plates of death and loss from touching them in some way or another. Seema even has to forego her chauffeur after falling victim to a coup at work. Sex and the City had a rotating cavalcade of the most eccentric, zany characters: rich global Harris Amelita, reckless party girl Lexi Featherson, terse fashion show producer Lynn Cameron among them, and in a deft illustration that life continues to expand and diverge in fascinating ways as we age. AJLT expertly models this with the introduction of several memorable side characters. Enter Rosie O'Donnell in a brief cameo as a love interest of Miranda's, Cherry O'Terry as a ruthless matchmaker, and Jonathan Cake as Carrie's grouchy new downstairs neighbor. There's also Carrie herself to consider. The ups and downs of her relationship with Aiden are gently handled, and they take Sex and the City into territory it has never explored before: the nuclear family. We see flashes of this in the lives of Charlotte and, to a lesser extent, Miranda, but Carrie's timid introduction into Aiden's life exposes the difficulties of parenting a child with special needs, without the veneer of riches and luxury that coats Charlotte's family life. Harry, surprise, takes everything in stride. But that doesn't change the fact that she's an extremely difficult character to be in the brain of. This is a truth universally acknowledged, that Carrie is a horrible friend, and nowhere is this more apparent than in a startling conversation in the 5th episode. where Miranda sharing an anecdote in solidarity with Carrie elicits a "what does that have to do with me?" Carrie's friendship mishaps, and there are many, in the original series could be overlooked as a certain immaturity, but a Carrie who has seemingly learned nothing at the age of 55 speaks of a stagnation that's harder to stomach. It was a very fun season in lots of ways, Sarah Jessica Parker told Entertainment Tonight. There were big stories to tell, supplied Max. And despite how laughably Twee Carrie's trademark, I couldn't help but wonder voiceovers were. The reintroduction of them in the style of the thinly veiled historical fiction she's taken to writing is monumentally worse. Still, the third season is genuinely funny, resurrects the repartee of deep friendship, and is closer to recreating the magic of Sex and the City than any season of AJLT has been. The first season's obsessive attempt to be woke as a belated corrective to centering 4 white women has since settled into a more natural storytelling groove that touches on the zeitgeist without being subsumed by it. And its self-conscious, overly degenerative portrayal of middle age has morphed into something teeming with possibilities and adventure. Besides, despite Samantha's continued absence, which sees her most tawdry qualities distilled into annoying text messages, we have the next best thing. Patti LuPone making an appearance later in the series. Kindly keep checking out and subscribing to my WSR Media channel.